thanks for tuning in. Make sure to go to my official YouTube channel to subscribe officially, like this particular video, and also make sure to go and watch and listen to my other official YouTube videos. Also, go to my website, www.susanelane.com. So I decided to do a new little outfit creation, because why not? I can do that. I tend to, every now and then, I have my own little thing that I do. I can't help it. It's kind of like cooking for me. So I can make this joke. So anytime I have ever cooked, I don't actually, I follow even my own recipes that I've created, but I don't actually go by every detail. So it's one of those, well, I'll add an extra amount of this here, and I'll do a little different something here, because, I'm going to add this energy there, so I'm going to do this there, and I am the way I am. I can't help it. So it's one of those, sure, I can mix and match and do all sorts of stuff because I feel like it. And so, it's not really anything new for me. I've done this a while. It's a thing. And so while it might look similar to some degree, if you've seen certain outfits that I create, it's the subtle differences that make all the difference depending on the outfit, depending on the day, and all that sort of stuff. So, I'm going to go into a few different details, as I tend to do, especially if you have watched and listened to other prior official YouTube videos of mine. So I tend to have a bit of a satirical view in some ways, and other ways just as it is. So there are different types of New Jerseyans. So some people that I have met over the years, and there's quite a lot of them that I've actually dealt with. I can't be the only one, especially having been born and raised in New Jersey and living in other areas. So I don't know how many New Jerseyans have dealt with this, whether they've gone to visit somewhere else or actually have moved somewhere else. So the majority of times, not more recently, but especially from 1998 through to about 2012, what I dealt with was, I know how people are from New Jersey. No, you don't. That is not how people from New Jersey walk around. And so I don't know what it was. I'm going to guesstimate it had something to do with pop culture. Don't know what was as far as pop culture is concerned, but it is what it is. And then I dealt with, what was it, in like 2008 or 2009, I got called a meatball. And I was like, excuse me. Excuse me. I'm not a meatball. I am Susan. I am not a meatball. Despite how I can make my outfits look, because of whatever, I'm not a meatball. I don't understand why I got called a meatball. I don't know which one, when you think, especially New Jerseyans, you know this. I've had a lot of nicknames. Every New Jerseyan, depending on where they go, they have more than one nickname. So in one area, and New Jersey's a small state, if you travel around New Jersey, you have different nicknames per area. So in one area, you still have whatever your legal government name is, but you still have a nickname, depending on how much you chill out there. Same thing with the 5 boroughs, and in the 5 boroughs, a much smaller area, of course, in one section of one borough, you might have a nickname that's completely different than another nickname literally across the street. And I don't mean like at an intersection and you go across, no, I mean literally across the street. It's literally like that up in the boroughs. If you know those areas, and it's usually certain specific areas. So, so unless you really know New Jersey, which means you have to be born and raised in New Jersey. If you are not born and raised in New Jersey, and by the way, you have to be born and raised and live in New Jersey consecutively to be considered a New Jerseyan for about a minimum of 13 years. So from your birth to the day you turn 13 years old, not until you turn 13 years old are you considered a New Jerseyan. That's just facts. You have to make it all the way through to middle school before all other New Jerseyans ever consider you an actual New Jerseyan. If you fall short by 1, 2, or 3 years, that's nice. You lived in New Jersey. You actually grew up wherever else you went to. You are not considered a New Jerseyan no matter how much you try to tell yourself what you are. It's just the facts. Now, if you're a biological adult, you're considered, you're not told this, but you're considered, well, we'll see whether or not you're a New Jerseyan. That's, and people who have lived as biological adults, whether you moved there for employment or whatever it is, you would have this internal sensation where, do they actually accept me? It is a thing. It's just how it is. And then if you go to college, well, that depends. So in college, and you have to go for all 4 years at the minimum, okay? So if you go to high school and then go to college in New Jersey, and again, you have to graduate college in this particular reference, or if you go to high school and you graduate high school in New Jersey, then you have to live there for the equivalent of a 4-year college before you're considered a New Jerseyan because you went to high school. In comparison to other locations, and anybody who's, especially the 1980s, 1990s, it's a thing. And so when people such as myself go back to New Jersey, it's one of those, well, Ernie, it's what it usually is. No matter what, you can go back to your home area, and what it usually is unless somebody can vouch that you were up in here, who you be. And it's an internal thing. I would guesstimate that if New Jerseyans or people who move to New Jersey, they understand this. It's like it's a subconscious thing, and especially with the stuff that occurred in the 1980s and 1990s, anybody that was living up in New Jersey during that time frame, they are the most skeptical individuals ever. You cannot find any people who are more skeptical than a born and raised or in the state of New Jersey during the 1980s and 1990s. You want to find a skeptic? Find one of those. Guarantee you, most difficult individuals in all of the United States of America, you cannot find anybody more difficult at all. I promise. I would guesstimate there are plenty of people who could be like, I remember this one. Yeah. And so we're friendly. New Jerseyans are far friendlier than some people actually really realize, especially the ones that are like, I know how people are from New Jersey. Yeah, you do that instantly to a New Jersey, and when you do that, so you're not cool. That's the end. I would guesstimate anybody who was born and raised in New Jersey who has like this understanding, anybody that they've had who's like, all that, so you're not cool and you're a rat. That is the first internal thought when people do, yeah, I know how people are from New Jersey. Now, if someone from New Jersey is explaining that, that's different. It's when other people do it. So if you're born and raised in another state, automatically, hurry, I'm going to have to pay attention to you because most likely you're a rat. And it'll be proven one way or another. So then let me get to my biological mother and my biological sister compared to my biological father. you won't be capable to see the difference. So, that college aspect, and anybody, it don't matter what decade that you went to college out in New Jersey, I would guesstimate before the year of 2000. I don't know if it's still the same in regards of college students, most specifically when it comes to New Jersey. So the most well-known colleges in New Jersey are Princeton and Rutgers. Like that, and they're not even that far from one another. And then you have Princetonites who are like, we don't need to wave our banner because we're Princeton. And then Rutgerians are like, we're Rutgers, roar! And like, and anybody, if they're honest, especially the Rutger Indians, I don't know, Rutgerites, I don't know. You know that. You have to be honest and accept that. That is a thing. People that are not born and raised in New Jersey have no idea. All they know is, oh, well, it's just two colleges that are in the same state, and, they have their, no, 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 no. You have to be born and raised in New Jersey to know this, or you have to have somebody who was born and raised in New Jersey to explain this to you, but you don't know it, because you have to see it to understand it. And you don't want to go and see it necessarily, because you don't really have to, but only those as far as they went to high school, and then that 4 years after high school, understand this as well. So you have Princetonites. Oh, well, that's great, Rutger Indian or whatever. Yeah, no, look at our campus buildings. And then there's yours. And no, that's great. Yeah, you don't spend as much to go to college. Well, we have to maintain our buildings. And so, our education and stuff like that, where Rutger Indians or Rutgerites or whatever are like, yeah, well, you know what, we totally save money, man, and we can totally party, because and you just wish you could have parties the way we do, because there are those who know. And then Princetonites, yeah, sure, you can do that, but like, have you thought about the consequences in regards of the socialization? And because that's how it is. Anybody who knows this knows, and you have to be honest with yourselves. And so Princetonites probably would be like, we don't really sound like that, okay? Like, do I actually sound that way? If you ask that, you do, okay? Whereas Rutgerites or Rutgerians, if they're proud to have graduated from Rutgers, because then there's the other ones, the ones that are proud of, yeah, I totally saved money. Yeah, I got this degree, and then look at what I accomplished. Yes, and then I did this, and this. Whereas the other Rutgerians are like, and there's a difference between these two, by the way. Other than this, yeah, so I went to Rutgers. I had grades that were good enough to go to Princeton, but, the prices, so, I saved money. And so that sort of, now those are the problems when it comes to other Rutgerians, because those are the ones who usually didn't live on campus. Those are the ones that, if they had actually attended Princeton, would have lived on campus, but they didn't want to pay the on-campus living prices, plus they didn't want to actually live on campus because they wanted to have the capability to get off of campus to go wherever they lived. So if they had a grandmother or an aunt or an uncle or a grandfather or a family friend that they could live with, instead of living on campus, specifically when it comes to Rutgers, then you have the other Rutgers that are like, oh, you're like a Princetonite wannabe. That is how, and I guarantee you, find any person who went to Rutgers and graduated who lived on campus and ask them about that. I'll promise you, if you say, would you consider anybody that you went to college with that was in any of your classes that did not live on post, did you get almost the Princetonite wannabe vibe? And I guarantee you, 9 of those Rutgerians will be like, let me list off a couple, because there was this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and they will know them by name. First, most likely middle, and last name, depending on the level. Because then you gotta take in consideration, there's the type of Rutger graduate, compared to Rutgerian, because there are those who know, and only if you're in the know of certain things do you understand this. So you have those Rutgerians who, we could do like talking about other stuff, that'd be great. Whereas the one that lived off campus would be like, oh, do you remember when we were in college and like this was great? And then the one that lived on campus, yeah, you mean when you got to go and do this instead, and you know, the rest of us that lived on campus had to go take care of this, and oh yeah, remember that, had to deal with this, you know, because you had to go drive off post of the campus, and I remember you, sort of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of whichever side, because if you got the one that's like, oh, you remember, and whatever, and it was great. The one that lived on campus is like, yeah, that was what it was, so, okay. And either side. Because then you have the one that's like, rose-colored glasses. Like, nothing like me. And they just go back to college in their thoughts. Because it's, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And in comparison, because it's one of those, well, what were you doing to actually assist? Now, if you actually assisted, if you were actually, assisting in a positive way, well, then you have the right to be that way. However, if you were just the type that just showed up, did whatever, and then left as soon as possible, huge difference. Massively huge difference. So then, you have Princetonites, which if you lived, it's the complete opposite. If you went to Princeton, and you could live off post. Oh, so you can, hi, how are you? So you can afford to go to here and like live off post. Hi. Could not be attracted to the individual whatsoever, but hey. So like, we're totally cool, right? Anybody who knows that. And so you have the different types of New Jersey, and you have to know this, because you only can actually understand this if you actually were born and raised in New Jersey. You can kind of see it if you go to high school into college, because going from high school into college, you have the cognitive awareness because of your age, but you don't understand the specific dynamics. You most likely just see, so it's just two different colleges, and then you get yelled at because you'll say that to whichever one, and then no, because I went to Princeton and I did this, and that's what you would deal with. And then in comparison, no, see, I went to Rutgers and it looks the exact same, sounds the exact same, so it's just like, well, it's just another college. And then no, because Princeton did this. You know, when we were doing whatever, Princeton had the nerve in comparison to, and when we were doing whatever, because they go from to, and then Rutgers showed up. And Rutgers was like, what? And we were like, what? And they were like, what? And we were like, what? So to a high school person who went to high school in New Jersey, well, that's just high school. Because that's just high school. Well, you know, this high school is going to play this high school in football. What? And that's just how it was. And so it just is as it is. And so you have to have certain understanding. Because New Jersey, it still has its different areas. Because then you have people who are considered alumni. Yeah, no, that's a whole other ball of wax. Because you have the ironies. You have the Princetonites who go by housing near Rutgers, and vice versa. So the Rutgerites, or Rutgerians, that buy housing near Princeton, yes, my taxes pay for maintaining your education. So sure, I'm not an alumni, but like, you know, I gotta do that, and you know. Whereas Princetonites who buy housing near Rutgers, you party too much, you do this, you do that. If you would actually take your classes seriously, you would do this, and you would do that, and da-da-da-da. But you know, I graduated from Princeton, so you know, my grade, in comparison. And if you would actually have cared about the house, you would know your buildings look whatever in comparison, you know, because sure, your college was begun in this whatever, but Princeton was started in this year. And so, you know, my taxes pay for your education, and those buildings are unsightly. And if you could actually do something that would make them more uniform looking in comparison, because if you look at Princeton, this is what we have in comparison. Tell me I'm wrong. But be truthful, otherwise I know I'm accurate. So that, you know, in regards of my scuba diving, you know, there is certain factors that you can tell. I was born and raised in New Jersey. And grew up going to the 5 boroughs in New York City by that. Including, you know, I also grew up going out to Pennsylvania in the different areas because, well, I earned 26 scuba diving certifications. It doesn't really matter that I'm not an instructor. I have all this other stuff, which is the equivalent of a Princetonite and a Rutgerian in one. And so, yeah, no, so I earned 26 scuba diving certifications, and it was in this particular time frame. And then, sure, you might think certain things, but let me explain this to you, because this is the reality. So this is important. I'm not going to, and so here's the difference. This is the Rutgerian portion. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I am going to let you know what you're doing wrong, though. And so there's the Princetonite portion where it's, and remember, so I earned 26 scuba diving certifications, and my GPA for my certifications are, and so, and remember, okay, fine, I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, Rutgeridian part. Though I had a subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain that took 8.5 years, so and then Princetonite, and I deal with headaches and migraines and Rutgeridian, and I deal with memory deficits and cognitive disorders, so and Rutgeridian. Um, so I acknowledge my weakness in comparison to you pretending to be your Princetonites by trying to say that because you're a scuba dive instructor that you actually know anything, because Rutgeridian is very much, because I did this, and this, and sure, okay, fine, you spent whatever you spent. That doesn't change the fact that I earned 26 scuba diving certifications and the time frame of in the year of 2009, and I earned this and I earned that and I did it myself on my own, and so yes, fine, okay, you have, sure, yeah, but you didn't okay, no, you have to remember that I grew up swimming out in the Atlantic area of the ocean, Princetonite. As far as so no, you don't seem to understand, there's a difference between the Gulf of Mexico area of the ocean and the Atlantic area of the ocean. And so I grew up swimming out there, whereas you grew up swimming in a pool, and then you learned how to scuba dive most likely in freshwater in comparison to the Atlantic area of the ocean, very Princetonite. And so, great, you learned how to scuba dive-ish. And so, Princetonite, and so, it's fine if you think that you know better, except I actually do, because I have personal experience, total Princetonite. And so, no, because what you seem to understand is only freshwater. That's because you're freshly born in regards of scuba diving compared to growing up swimming in the ocean. The real ocean, total Princetonite, as far as the Atlantic area of the ocean, mixed with the Caribbean, because the Atlantic area of the ocean is like, rah! And you're not even in this, okay? So you don't even have this as far as your hot springs or your lakes or your quarries. You don't have this. This is a combination of the Rutgeridian and Princetonite, as those who would know. Yeah, so you don't have this. You have that's what you have for water. In the Gulf of Mexico, you kind of have this. That's a little Princetonian. Okay, right. Except the Atlantic area of the ocean's like rawr and rawr, 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 rawr. On campus living in that reference. And so, especially in regards of Rutgers in that reference, though because of swimming out to the buoys, then you got the Princetonite aspect in reference to scuba diving. So, in that regards, now you have the different areas of New Jersey. So you have North New Jersey, and you have South New Jersey, and you have Central New Jersey, and you have East New Jersey with all those three, as well as West New Jersey with all those three. Then you have the central of that in New Jersey. But it's not actually near the center of New Jersey. It's kind of where so it kind of looks like a hip, like an actual curve, like the feminine divinity, the old way that some people had drawn the fertility goddess. And so it's near what would be considered the heart of New Jersey. What would be considered the center of New Jersey, which is obviously not the actual center of New Jersey. That's why there's the center of New Jersey, east and west. But then there's central New Jersey. And so North New Jersey, and that's kind of from the little curvature starting point at the top upward. just a little bit beneath the curvature, but not the full curvature. Okay? Yeah, the rest of you in New Jersey, you don't know how it is. We have to deal with all of you. And then we also have to deal with New York City, New York State, and Pennsylvania. Whereas West New Jersey is like, we still have to deal with Pennsylvania though. And you. And, the New York Cityans that come down. But we also have to deal with Marylandites and Delawareans. So, And then South New Jersey is like, yeah, but we're actually closer to Marylandites and Delawareans, and then we're obviously closer to DC, and we still have to deal with you. And then East New Jerseyans are like, but we got the ocean, so whatever. But we still have to deal with all of that too, which includes you as well. And that's the misunderstanding, because then anybody in New Jersey, but then there's the central part of New Jersey, yeah, like, we're stuck here. And we have to deal with all of that, and most of the people from all of those areas you're complaining about usually want to stay here. So not only do we have to deal with all of the travelers, but then we have to deal with all of you, as well as New York City, New York State, Staten Island, and Long Island, because they want to stay here, and Pennsylvania, as well as Marylandites and Delawareans, and then, of course, DCers, because everybody wants to stay here. In comparison, and then we still have to deal with all of you. And so... those who know those areas, they understand. And so, if they're honest with themselves, so you have... And I'm sure that there are different areas, so I made attempts in the state of Texas to explain to Texans how they are. And a bunch of them got offended. However, any New Jerseyan that's been in the state of Texas, I know you know what I know. So, you have Austin, which is kind of like New York City-ish, mixed with Philadelphia-ish, mixed with Pittsburgh-ish, mixed with some of the suburban areas, but only on the outskirts of Austin. Okay, so then East and West Texas are kind of like New York State-ish, Pennsylvania State-ish, kind of mixture. Little bit of New Jersey up in there, if they have a college. If they have a college, then they have a little bit of the New Jersey thing, especially if there are two. So then you have DFW, which is Dallas-Fort Worth. This is where I didn't understand, because you actually think that it would be whatever. So Dallas is more like New York City with the suburby areas, kind of like Staten Island and Long Island, where, no, I live near Dallas, or I live in Staten Island, or I live in Long Island. I don't live in Dallas, but I live near Dallas, or I live in Staten Island or Long Island, which is near New York City. Not New York City though, okay? Where you have Fort Worth, that's kind of more New Jersey, depending where you are, as far as New Jersey. This is where a bunch of Fort Worth individuals were like, we are nothing like New Jersey. Oh, okay. Sure. You tell yourselves that, and one day you will find it. You live in Fort Worth, but you go and travel to Dallas. You mean you live in New Jersey and go travel to New York City, or Pittsburgh or Philadelphia for employment. No, 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 no. We only go there for fun. Okay, so then you're the version of Manalapan, for those who understand that, Township reference, or Tri-County and other areas that would understand that. And so you're more Manalapan then, because you only go to New York City to party. You won't go there to shop, because you don't want to pay those prices. Maybe you'll get like something so you could just have the bag. Just so you could be like, see, I went to the Galleria. And then back to Fort Worth or New Jersey, or I went to Broadway, look, that, sort of, I went to this store, and so like, yeah, it's only in New York City, Or in comparison, as far as Fort Worth to Dallas, yeah, no, this is only in the Dallas Galleria, okay? You have to look it up, okay? It's so totally special. So then you have Houston. Which Houston is kind of like a conglomerate of literally New York City as far as central Houston. Northern, as far as just kind of the hemisphere, whether it's east to west northern, is kind of like Staten Island and Long Island, because live near Houston, it's a different comparison to DFW, especially the Dallas part. No. Let me clarify, because in Dallas area, remember, no, that's New York City or Dallas and live in Staten Island or Long Island. Whereas in Houston, it's like, no. Let me clarify to you, okay? A little bit of it. No. Staten Island or Long Island, not the Central or New York City, okay? Or conversely, someone who lived, born and raised, whatever, as far as Staten Island, Long Island, but then went out to the New York State area. In that reference regarding Houston as the north, whichever, which is pretty much from the water area to the water area around Houston. Because south of Houston is the water. So, so you have Houston, which is like New York City, literally. But, you have the rest of Houston, which is like New York State or Pennsylvania State. No. Houston is like, on a good day without traffic, it's like an hour and a half away, so we're close enough, okay? Don't be confusing us with technically part of Houston, technically. Except the fact that we're not. Because we live in, the woodlands, or we live here, and, we can travel to Houston because we'll do the New Jersey thing and pay the tolls, but, we're in comparison to New Jersey, and so we're like, yeah, we just, whatever, stupid change, gotta keep that in the tray and do that. Houstonites, in comparison, regarding that north area, yeah, I have the pass, okay? Yeah, no, I have the toll pass, so that way I can just get on through, because I do not actually, I think it's okay that I live here, but remember, okay, so my taxes, Princeton, so my taxes, they pay for, it's okay. Yes, here I am, whatever, sort of thing. In comparison to like the northern area, so it's like closer to the water, and it's like, yeah, more like New Jersey. No, go into Houston to party. It's good dancing and stuff like that. That's whatever. In comparison to the like rest of the north, where it's like a little bit of a rainbow shape, kinda, and it's like, yeah, Yeah, So there were a bunch of people in the years, especially of 2009 through 2012 in the state of Texas that were like, "We are nothing like the tri-state area. How dare you bring that up?" Oh no, I don't believe you. Yeah, because then you got San Antonio. San Antonio is the equivalent of New Jersey State. Period and end of story. You take the city of San Antonio, you got like Fort Monmouth, Fort Dix, and it is New Jersey, so let's be honest. And so, you got the feminine shape, but you got Fort Dix right there. I'm just saying, you can make a joke about a strap-on literally right there. And so, and it is what it is. I can make that joke because I was born and raised in New Jersey, and anybody who knows a certain type zone, sometimes, yes, I can be feminine-ish. And then there are times where what I have to say with that one mouth I got make you think that I got big ol' internal Fort Dix, because I do. Because I am who I am. And I don't mean it as an way of singing that song. I just am as I am. Yeah, you can say whatever, whatever. Yeah. Have you met anybody from New Jersey? From the 1980s, 1990s? Okay, I grew up there. Yeah. And then if you've met Mike, well, that's my biological father. That's who I was raised by. Growing up, after I was born there, in the state of New Jersey. Then you have the 5 boroughs in the 1980s and 1990s. Then you have Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and the rest of Pennsylvania. So, I can make that joke, literally, about Fort Dix. And that reference for anybody who's like, she says such mean words, she types such mean... No, they're kind. They're so kind. Especially 1980s, 1990s New Jersey. And then adding Mike, as far as that's so kind. So kind. And then anybody who knows how Princeton and Rutgers were in the 1980s and 1990s, so Texas, you got nothing when it comes to college issues. As far as so there's the Aggies and the Longhorn situation. Yeah, no, you have the entire state of Texas. Look at the distance between Princeton and Rutgers. Yeah, you have college rivals? That's nice. You have a huge state? How many New Jerseys can fit in there? Okay. Yeah, no, I wasn't born and raised in Texas. I woke up and regrew up in the state of Texas. And not to be rude, it's just one of those, that's nice. So then, so my hair color is as it is. Oh, are you a fan of, I don't know which college? I was born and raised, just think about this when it comes to scuba diving, okay? So I go in I go to scuba diving, I show up, and all of whichever college it is, because I know there's 2 of them, so there's one that has the, kind of semi-ish, the color of my hair, whichever one it is. Oh, you must be a whatever fan. No. And then, because of being honest, you're not it's not that I'm not a fan, I was born and raised in New Jersey, what's wrong with you? Why are you involved? I went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to 2nd grade math. There's nothing remedial enough at the time of 2009, except for scuba diving, that I could actually go to college. So I made this joke that if I can get into college, most likely the entire education system needs to be revamped, and the higher the grade I get, the more that needs to be taken care of correctly. And so a bunch of these civilian recreational scuba divers, you know, um, for a New Jersey reference, that would be like. So I know there's other colleges in New Jersey that you can get a degree from, and I'm not talking about community colleges. I'm not talking about technical college. There are those who know what I'm talking about. And so it's like San Marcos, whatever, San Marcos University or SWTX or whatever it is, but like the dropout versions for certain ones. And there are those who understand that reference from New Jersey. As far as that's concerned, not being mean at all, giving a reference. And so I don't know whatever, what I think it was was it a gig or something like that as far as the whatever one as far as my hair color. Well, get this. I go scuba diving. Come out of the water. Anybody who's done hairstyling, you know how red is. So you know it bleeds. So by the time of my second scuba dive being done, my hair color is like close or similar to the other college. And so I start out as far as this going in the water, and you've got the other college or whatever it is as far as Texas. Your hair color, and it's like, I don't care. I didn't go to the college. Yeah, but you got the hair color. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. No. Go ahead and make fun of my education and why I earned 26 scuba diving certifications in comparison to becoming an instructor. Now let me go ahead and go make fun of that now from 2009 to 2022. Go ahead. Because then getting out of the water after the second dive, the ones that as far as whatever the school is, what happened to your hair? I went in the water. What's wrong with you? So then the other college being like, hey, how you doing? Do you remember how you were before I got in the water? That is what it is. Bygones be bygones. Except for when my hair color goes back to my hair color. You could just be a blonde instead, or I could be myself. Or you could do the blonde thing instead, or I could just be myself. And so anybody who knows which two colleges I'm referring to as far as the state of Texas is concerned, throughout my time of scuba diving. Yeah, and so, just scuba divers. Where you use technology to breathe underwater, to stay underwater, and this is what I dealt with. 2009. And so, it's like those college football or football team flags where it's like split down the middle and you got whatever. So like the basketball reference I can give is like the San Antonio Spurs and the Dallas Mavericks for that reference, okay? And so I go scuba diving and I got this hair color, and then I get out of the water after my second scuba dive and I have the other hair color, and it's like, but I'm still me. And so I can make a joke reference regarding my corsets, because that's literally in the center, and that's how that goes. And so, it's just like, whatever, it is what it is. You people are weird. I've already dealt with this before on land, because, and you guys have the entire state of Texas, so then you take scuba diving, and scuba diving is obviously a smaller group of individuals, and it's like, so I know the difference between Princetonites and Rutgerites, or Rutgerians, or Princetonians, whatever. So, I'm just going to go over here, because I don't want to deal with that. Don't. No, I'm gonna earn my 26 scuba diving certifications. I don't care about your little back and forth between whatever, because I am me. And I was born and raised in New Jersey, so then you have that, because Texas! And it's like, yeah. Yeah, but I was born and raised in New Jersey. I am earning my scuba diving certifications in the state of Texas. Texas! No. And then, that 2009, no. You need to understand, I am not Texas. I am a New Jerseyan, so coming across as a Princetonite, pretty much for those who understands that, because, no, Texas! No. I was born and raised in New Jersey, so people who went to college in the tri-state area or along the East Coast or along the West Coast for certain colleges, you understand this. No. This is where I went to college, and then there's whatever Texas schools. I got out so that it expanded my horizons and no Texas, no. So I acknowledge that I am a Texas trained scuba diver. It's okay. I can acknowledge that I had a head injury, and that's how I woke up here. And so, where I was born and raised, they can have sympathy for me. Because what you Texans don't understand is those that you're like, I know how people are from New Jersey. Those of you, those New Jerseyans can be like, first, in regards of, why are you like, because it don't matter, north, south, east, or west New Jersey. You got, couldn't you, move somewhere else to get certified in scuba diving instead? You do know, this is the Princetonite aspects of New Jersey. Don't, but your, certifications will all be from Texas. Do you understand that? I mean, that kind of does make you a bit hard as a female that's unattached, earning 26 scuba. I mean, that's kind of Rutgerian as far as that's concerned. Being an unattached female, earning 26 scuba diving certifications on your own, because that's unheard of anywhere else anyway. But in the state of Texas, with how Texans are, you know how they are when they come up to New Jersey. Do you remember that? We know that you had a head injury. We know that. We know, specifically New Jersey, not New York, not New York City, not Pennsylvania, specifically New Jersey. We know how those are when they come here. We know this. I mean, hey, yeah, you show how strong New Jersey is up in Texas, girl, damn, yeah, 4 dicks, yeah, but you helped them? Why? You do remember how they were in the 1980s and 1990s when they came up to New Jersey, don't you? Okay, we can be a bit forgiving because, you had a head injury and you had a subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of your brain, so you wouldn't really possibly remember that, but subconsciously maybe you do, because you are earning 26 scuba diving certifications in a 9-month period as an unattached female scuba diver, and we kind of know how that goes. So you take military plus law enforcement plus fire department plus EMS scuba diving. to like a whole other level. Whereas those Texan scuba divers are like, well, they're Texans, and so, huh, huh. Well, yeah, you showed them how strong the New Jersey, and you showed them that we're not all walking around like, it's from New Jersey. No, 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 you showed them how that's done, baby girl. You go do your thing. Show them that. Whereas New York Cityers would be like, why would you do that? Like, ew, the water in like Texas, like you grew up going to the Atlantic area of the ocean, you grew up going to Point Pleasant. What is that? Like, ew. Whereas Texans wouldn't understand that. And so, then you have Staten Island and Long Island. Well, you're definitely a New Jerseyan. Stubborn, hard-headed. Surviving that, yeah. Yeah, you get it, girlfriend. But, because, just going, they say that they have chivalry in Texas. Well, let's see what chivalry there actually is up in that state. No, let's just see. Because we've had a bunch of these Texans, specifically certain areas of Texas, show up to our area and say that they're all about chivalry. Let's see how chivalrous these are. See what chivalry is to, regarding Texas. Compared to what they complain about when they come up to Staten Island and Long Island and New York State and Pennsylvania State. Now let's see that. You are New Jersey. Strong. Woo! Whereas Philly and Pittsburgh of Pennsylvania. That's it. That's pretty much it when it comes to Philly or Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Specifically the city parts, not the outskirts, because it's just and then their thoughts as far as Texans go. So for those who need an understanding, it's the equivalent of hold my earring. Hold that earring. You know what? No, I'm gonna keep my rings on. Take my necklace off. This is a dainty chain. Tex. That's Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. For in regards of like that reference of my 26 scuba diving certifications, and then you got Marylandites that would be like, I'm not necessarily ready to take my earrings off and my jewelry, but I do wear chains. Cause I do that. Cause they're not thin, dainty chains. Nah, Nah. Up in certain areas of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and New York City, certain similarities called roughnecks. We'll show you the difference between a roughneck and a redneck. And then you got Delawareans, which, do you really have to be that way, Texas? Can't you just, you say that you have chivalry. Do you have the capacity to actually show chivalry? We don't know. You don't understand. There's the rest of the tri-state area and the East Coast. Could you please actually be chivalrous? Do you know how to do that? That's the Delawarean part. For those who know. And so especially 1980s, 1990s. For those who know. So then you have DC. So we have all these other stuff to take care of, but you want to do that. Great. No, that's fine. We have all this other stuff to take care of, like the rest of, the United States of America. But you want to do that. No, that's the female version of fine. No, that's fine. You think that we don't know. There's just Virginia. No. No, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. If you could. No, that's fine. No, we'll just. No, it's the equivalent. So Washington, D.C., and Virginia, the irony of names. So you got Washington as the male aspect, and you got Virginia. You better tell the truth. You don't know what you just wait till your father gets a Washington, D.C. is gonna tell you. No, you better. No, let me tell you. Because if you don't know, because you need to. Oh no, you didn't. Let me tell you. Because if you just wait till your father at Washington, D.C. gets home. You don't know. You just wait. And then D.C. Yeah, no, you want to cry about something? No, that's fine. No, that's fine. I can give you something to cry about. You can make the correct choice and listen to Virginia State as far as that's concerned. Or you can wait till I get back, and I'm going to count to 3 as soon as I set foot off the plane. And by the time I count to 3, you better have A, B, C, D, E, F, G taken care of all the way to Z 30 times over. Or, you want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. Where then Virginia State be like, and then they did this, and then they did this, and then they did. For those metaphors who understand that. And for those who don't, maybe there are certain areas in whatever state you're a part of that could have that reference. So then, let me fast forward from 2012 to 2013, and I wind up in Washington State. And so in 2014, I deal with this purple and yellow W sock boy. I have a saying. People in the state of Texas have heard me say this before. This is one of, along with swear words, where Texans had an issue with my saying because they thought that it was mean, that I was acknowledging the reality that I have. And so, walking in downtown Tacoma, I don't think I have my website up yet, by the way. I haven't gotten to that point. And so I'm talking with the mail as far as how I wound up in Washington State. I look at something, I have my saying, as far as my head injury and figuring stuff out. And this little purple and yellow W sock wearing boy, whatever age, obviously above the biological age of 18, little social justice warrior, titty baby temper tantrum. What do you think that people with head injuries would do and feel? Hearing you say that. So the mail, as far as Stony LaRue concert, that situation regarding March of 2013, goes and feels safer in the alleyway of downtown Tacoma. Think of like Deep Ellum, for those who understand that reference but don't necessarily know the area of Tacoma. It was like he went into Deep Ellum and like, yeah, I'm safer here in the alleyway. Comparison to the open street area. Keep that in mind. Oh, that's great. All right, well, let me get my from New Jersey, Fort Dix out, that's fine. I just earned 26 scuba diving certifications. I landed at the bottom of the ocean. Pacific's over there, though. Might want to keep that in mind, yellow, purple sock boy. Might want to keep that in mind. But go ahead, run your mouth. I got the ludicrous song I can reference to now in 2022. Eep, eep, whoop, whoop. Get back, y'all know me like that. Because I'm going to put a DGB pendant at the end of your chain as I kick you. And so, that is as it is. Don't, and then mix it with a little bit, they forgot about Dre. And so, because, and they got a little snoop up in there and be like, no, let me educate you, little boy, with the little yellow and purple W sock, little wanna be little. You're one of those, I know how people are from New Jersey, aren't you? Aren't you? You're one of those. So, Alright. And so he goes on, and, his little girlfriend of whatever social justice garbage, as far as that's concerned, it's like, do you realize how hypocritical you are to attack someone who actually had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, as I brought these details up? Do you realize how hypocritical you are to make fun of my subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain that took a total of 8.5 years to fully dissipate from the MRI and CAT scans? Do you realize how hypocritical you are, W purple and yellow sock boy, when it comes to you making fun of me and going and attacking a female biologically who had a head injury during basic training in the Army at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which the home base of the artillery, which is a male field. Do you realize how hypocritical you are, little W purple yellow sock boy, as far as your little virtue signaling garbage, social warrior, whatever type of don't have any whatever, lack of common sense, dealing with headaches and migraines as you yip all up in my ear, ludicrous song, talking a whole bunch of shit that I ain't trying to hear. Do you realize how hypocritical you are as a male with the color of your skin tone, with the fact that you don't have any tattoos, as far as the actual knowledge in regards of my memory deficits and cognitive disorders, to have gone from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus when I was in high school. But while I was also in high school, I attended college and graduated from geometry college level in college AP course, as well as biology 101 AP course in the actual college, after I had been invited to Marine and Science Technology School with the ASVAB score of a 93. But then in the year of 2000, my ASVAB score of a 98. You want to make fun of me for my saying, little yellow and purple W sock boy? You're virtue signaling what of nothing? To me? A pansexual female? Your white male privilege? as far as all you read on a piece of paper of a book or on a screen, little white boy? Let me guess, you were so proud to vote for 44 in 2012 because maybe you were actually old enough to vote. Or was it in your participation trophy type of class of school you actually thought in your little version of you had that aspect for that virtue signaling, you little purple yellow W sock boy. Yeah, you're a sock puppet, all right, boy. But instead, my internal thoughts, whereas I wrote, as far as speaking, but then my words that I said, finding the silver lining. You can go to my website, www.susanbling.com. What's that virtue signaling, white boy, when it comes to that? And then I earned 26 scuba diving certifications as an unattached female. And what, as far as that's concerned, little W sock boy? Oh, for someone who's so woke, I don't know how woke you could be in those particular references. So here, let me show you my strength. All right, let me take care of you guys up in Washington State in the actual respectful way as best as I can. Make sure my son is taken care of as best as I can. Just keep that in mind, W sock boy. There's the Pacific area, the ocean nearby. And so, no, I'm just gonna go back to Texas. Let me remind you of how big my actual internal is. Yeah, Texas. So you remember all this stuff that I dealt with and all that? You remember how you were like, you thought I needed to be reminded of certain democratic areas? And you remember when I warned you, not about TNG during the years of, but like the actual wording of as far as the next generation TNGers? Remember when I warned you about college students? You remember when I was like, hey, be careful with technology? Remember when I was like, hey, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you were like, ah, and it's like, you remember that? You remember? So there is this stuff, so I'm just going to clarify everything, and I'm just, because, my saying, so, I had the situation with Major General Jackass Gilman, as far as that's concerned. So, this is what I understand. I'm not doing what, I grew up with as far as Mike, Anna, and Patricia. No. This is a different version of basic training before the merger as best as I can. Because, at the very minimum, here, there's my saying, and it's like, okay, fine. But you know what? That's fine. It could think about college students and their I, as a pansexual female, dealt with this. No, their little virtue signaling. Yeah, no, you're Texans. You might need some assistance. Here's where I can assist you, because you have colleges in your state, and they're not, then you have these other ones from these areas going to Texas, and you complained about how I physically look. And so, so there's some stuff that happened up in Washington State, and so, you show up, whatever, they're there. And so, just point that out. So remember what happened with my daughter, my son and I, scuba divers? They have boats along the Pacific area, the ocean. You know how people are from New Jersey. Do you know what virtue signalers are from the West Coast? So if not, let me, here, you don't like my words? You're gonna get used to that. You're gonna just be like, well, whoop-de-doo, because, oh, well, two-star general in the office, face-to-face in person, because the merger, because, they're better with technology than you think they are. You have no idea. The Washington State is the technology capital of the United States of America. Good morning. Yeah, servers. Yeah, no, so this, so and so that just you might think I'm mean. No, I'm not passive aggressive. I'm not aggressive. I'm just direct and to the point, because if you think that my words are mean, remember I was born and raised in New Jersey in the 1980s and 1990s, going up to the 5 boroughs up in New York City, as well as Pittsburgh and Philadelphia as far as Pennsylvania, and then there's my biological father, Mike, and you met him medicated and older. So my words are so pretty compared to these millennials. No. You thought I was talking about you. No. Apparently there's some of these generation wires where it's like, why did you do that? And why did you do this? And why this? And did you think about this? And why this? So like no. Yeah, you just think about that and then water. And so no. Okay, so I'm gonna warn you because so the 10 Commandments are important. Go ahead and make fun of me. You have these whatever's showing up and like I voted for 45. Remember what you said about me as a Republican. Keep that in mind. Because, what was your actual reason for voting for 44 in truth? What did you do on social media? And here's some virtue signaling. So, I'm for the Second Amendment. I am. Just clarify and be truthful. Those 10 commandments. Just gonna throw that out there. It might be important. Because, I'm about life. I know better. Yes, I do. And so, no, you think now, because this little yellow purple sock boy was in a college at the time. And he thought that he was, to a female, pansexual. After what I dealt with at the Stony LaRue concert about my corset. So that was already in March of 2013. That was whatever month of 2014 before I went to go officially publish my first books. Keep that in mind. So, no, I'm doing the best I can. So that way, let me, where I can assist to save lives. This is what I can do as best as I can. Because they were willing to do this to a female. A pansexual, half Chinese, half whatever other mixture, 26 scuba dive certification earned, landed at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the bottom of the Atlantic area of the ocean, where there's forming underwater volcanoes, as well as at the Vandenberg, beneath where the keel of the ship is, and then all that stuff. And they live near, they have the Pacific area, which is larger than the Atlantic. The ocean. You have the Gulf of Mexico. Just saying. I'm done with this. So whatever they here, clarify. or twice this scuba diving certification, it's a Nimitz class boat. And so out of Bremerton, Washington is the Nimitz class, and the Vandenberg is bigger than that Nimitz. So just gonna throw that out there because, live in Washington State. They could actually measure or have someone they could ask to measure the boat compared to what's online. And so, so that is bigger than the Nimitz. It's like taking all of the boats that are in the area of the Nimitz and just adding them together as far as height and width and length. And it's still smaller than the Vandenberg. So, just gotta throw that out there, it's just saying, just saying, I actually do care about life. But this is what they were willing to do. I warned you about college students. I did. You thought I was talking about you. No. It's the next generation. This is now 2022. The 22nd April. 2 years since March of 2020. Keep that in mind. So yeah, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So I was born and raised in New Jersey. And then there's my Melamon Art Project stuff. And I dealt with what when it came to my daughter in McCoy Elementary School. As far as what's concerned. And then there's my Melamon Art Project chips. Yeah. Beyonce. What? No, I'm not. Just think about that. So, it is what it is. So New Jerseyans would look at, my scuba diving as far as my updates regarding my 3-volume book series, The Adventures of Susan Muling, Scuba Diver Extraordinaire, on my website, www.susanmuling.com, in the book section through the self-publishing through Amazon. And, there's a difference between the Pacific area of the ocean and the Atlantic area of the ocean. I was just walking on top of the quicksand out there. Yeah, whatever. Talking with the sea lions that talked back, not in the way certain others, as far as clapping back, no, talking back, and having a discussion as far as certain things are concerned. And so, then there was this huge situation I dealt with, and so, should take that in consideration, and so, so I dealt with some stuff, and so I wanted to clarify, verify, and, you have the chance to do so yourself, however you choose to do so, because, so I could be made fun of by New Jerseyans as to, well, why would you do that? Because why would, you helped with the water? You cleared up the water for them? Why would you do that? Except for the ones who moved from New Jersey and the tri-state East Coast areas as far as to the state of Texas, which they could be like, well, that's cool. That's cool. We don't have to deal with that. Oh, okay. Well, all right. You went scuba diving in that water? You grew up swimming in the Atlantic. What's wrong with you? Why would you be, you know what, you landed at the bottom of the ocean, and if you know what, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Compared to whatever those recreational civilian scuba divers had to say. Hypothetically. And so, yeah. So, I'm just gonna go take care of my homework. I get to, because remember my New Jersey flag in the state of Texas on my houses. Each house that I owned at the time. Just remember what happened. What happened when I came to my New Jersey flag. And so, yeah, you just keep that in mind. So, yeah, feelings and stuff. Uh-huh. Yeah, no, and then this Fort Dix, and then what's the flag height? Huh, huh, and history of the original 13 colonies. Yeah, no, because, just like any, whatever, there's a end date that has to be revisited, and so it might be time to revisit a flagpole size, because, every legal aspect has to have a revisitation to the legalities in local as well as state and federal law. So, um, you may have some New Jerseyans, the highest amount of impact on that particular day to not forget but to remember, as well as Marylandites and Delawareans and Pennsylvania staters, which includes obviously Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, as well as New York City, obviously, and New York State, and the entire East Coast from Maine to Florida, as far as I'm concerned. And so, just saying, there could be whatever. So I'm just gonna go do my homework. Yeah. However, I have to take care of my homework. In comparison to like other people who, you've got my biological sister and my biological mother who would be ignorant enough to not realize that their own technology devices as far as prior times. So why would you ever get in the way of me being capable to actually clarify? I mean, if they had intelligence, they actually would stay out of the way. In that hypothetical aspect, because I might actually know a thing or two. But, it depends on my percentage accuracy in comparison, because those particular factors, they know how college was when they went to college. And so there's these, millennial types, and I'm just doing what I can, but, it would make sense for certain things to not be a problem, but that would require, common sense, because, I actually lived in the Washington State area in comparison, just as I was born and raised in New Jersey. So I might know a thing or two that, for example, the on-site as far as seeing the Liberty Science Center at night. So maybe there's some stuff that I could have seen and heard that might be important in comparison regarding those clarifications. As far as my official YouTube channel, please do make sure to like this video and subscribe to my official YouTube channel and go to my website www.susanmeeling.com. I'm about life, so, but fine, to each their own, they got college degrees. I just earned 26 scuba diving certifications. They know how college was when they went to college. I earned 26 scuba diving certifications instead. So here's that other factor. So Princeton and Rutgers, you know how this goes, okay? So you can take a look at this and see what you see. So I got invited for VAST and all that stuff and whiny temper tantrums. So literally literally wouldn't have had to actually pay for my high school, but then I went to St. John Vianney High School instead, when I could have gone to Marine and Science Technology School with the Navy attachment. Those who understand the Princeton-Rutgers references, literally okay. So then in 1998, I was moved, and then I fought to be capable to go in the Army and all that. And so I didn't have that high school graduation walk because I was, in the process of going to save the world where I could as best as I could because of this nightmare I had when I was in second grade. And, whatever accuracy. So that I could, not have things as bad for not just myself, but for others, because I'm about life. And so, as best as I could, because I know I couldn't prevent everything, but what I could do, where I could assist, take care of what I could, if people wouldn't be in my way in whatever capacity of. And so, in that reference, if the hypothetical, oh, I'm not returning back to Illinois because I'm not dealing with that, da 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 da, and then their choice to move to the state of Texas, okay, which one are they when it comes to this, okay, and which one am I regarding Princeton and Rutgers? So if they move to the state of Texas, so that way they could go and do Patricia's high school graduation in 2004. I was maybe 4 years awake from my coma. I still had the subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain. You know what? I may just be on Rutgers on that one because of, whatever, fine. And so I was dealing with, learning the names of colors still, as well as how to count. I was using calendars to teach myself how to count above the number of 10, but also read it. And, dealing with headaches and migraines, memory deficits and cognitive disorders, and those people who didn't ever actually celebrate any of my birthdays in reality regarding my actual birthday, the way I actually preferred, or even in the minute, slightest close to what I would actually need for that. And so, if that was, as far as my biological sister's graduation, you could see Patricia as far as Princetonites, as far as you Rutgerites, or Rutgerians. So as far as that hypothetical with Anna, who did not live on Rutgers campus, and had her own car in that reference of the 1960s into the 1970s, where she earned a master's degree, but didn't ever use it in that field. Anyway, so, as far as those references from earlier in this official YouTube video, okay, so if that was part of it, and remember, they could have celebrated my birthday when they were in the state of Texas with me there each year, but instead of what occurred as far as, so when Patricia hypothetically graduated high school would be during the time frame of the first separation while I was taking care of my son and my daughter that I had delivered after having woken up from a coma and that subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain from my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 during basic training. Remember those mornings, Texas? And so, then if they didn't pay attention, because then there's whenever she graduated from college that you can refer to her abomination of a wedding, in my opinion. And then she earned a master's degree, apparently, same thing, you can take that in consideration. And I earned 26 scuba diving certifications, but what would the Mandarin view, as far as the white view, ever be in regards of that in comparison? Because remember, they could have actually offered to celebrate any of my achievements at all the way I would have actually preferred. But you know, you can go to my journal blog, The Ornery PSA, on my website, www.susanmealing.com. In comparison to what I brought up more recently in a journal blog, The Ornery PSA, on my website, www.susanmealing.com. And so, you know, I just earned 26 scuba diving certifications. That's all. I just landed at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico after having landed at the bottom of the waters in the state of Texas. I just cleared all that, did all that energetic healing, you know, worked on repairing those endangered species situations. That's all I did. You know, but, you know, I didn't have any celebration for me where I was there in person, face-to-face in person at all. Remember that abomination of a wedding near Lake Travis? As far as that's concerned regarding my biological sister, then remember what I dealt with, those who knew me in person, face-to-face in person, regarding my daughter's situation. And instead of actually assisting me in the correct capacities, what would be capable to be found in reference to that social media, text messages, emails, phone call records, merger stuff. To take in consideration as to, you know, I'm doing the best I actually can, because I'm about life. I have a pattern of behavior. My pattern of behavior is not spiteful, unlike some people. Remember, I am me. I am not my biological father. I am not my biological mother. I am not my biological sister. I am me. So, you know, just keep that in mind in regards of quite a few situations. And why did you vote for 44? I'm just doing what I can as far as my official YouTube channel, my website, www.susanmealing.com, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But, you know, what do I know? So, you know, common sense. Yeah, and what have I dealt with? Because what would be considered humane in comparison to what I've dealt with? What would actually be considered as humane in comparison? So if in regards of Illinoisans, as far as that high school graduation when I had stuff to take care of, and having been born and raised in New Jersey and all that, as far as 2001 and those particular references, then there's that. And you know, I was just dealing with the after effects from my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 in the year of the 10-year reunion. Sure, the subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain finally dissipated, you know, like somewhere about a year, maybe a year and a half before, if lucky as far as that's concerned. And, you know, headaches and migraines and cognitive disorders and memory deficits, and having gone from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math, the college, McHenry County Community College, I think it was near Woodstock, Illinois or something like that. I don't know if that's important or not. And then, you know, their little 10-year reunion, because I didn't go to the high school graduation because I had to go take care of stuff. You know, being a responsible, mature adult. And so, you know, I didn't go to my 10-year high school graduation reunion or my high school graduation because I had stuff to take care of. And so then there's, you know, Fort Worth Zoo 2010 and my daughter in that reference, and then hypothetical of like Illinoisans. It's so funny, Illinoisans sounds like so illy annoying. But anyway, because it's not Chicago, it's Crystal Lake area. And then, all that other stuff, because civilian recreational scuba divers wouldn't think about that. And then, Illinoisans being annoying as far as that hypothetical is concerned. And then, having been born and raised in New Jersey, and, 2001, and all those factors. And so, the assumption, hypothetically, that being the firstborn as to what the stereotype to a first-generation Chinese male as my biological father in comparison to what I actually grew up dealing with instead, because you'd actually have to have 2 Asian parents, not 1, for that to occur. You cannot have that. So what my biological sister got in comparison to what I dealt with would be the complete opposite of that stereotype regarding Asians and being the eldest firstborn. And so, isn't it irony that in 2020, there wasn't a high school graduation reunion for some reason? Hypothetically, why would that be? Is there some sort of a reason that some people could take in consideration? Would there be any needless problems that were annoying from Illinoisans being annoying? Hypothetically? So, okay, here you go, Washington State. I was born and raised in New Jersey, but I dealt with this area for less than 2 years total. So let me do all these clarifications and verifications because you think you're passive aggressive. No, you don't know passive aggressive. You think you know passive aggressive. You have the Pacific area of the ocean. They have a lake, and they are the type of people that would actually think that they're superior or great just because of the name of the lakes nearby in comparison. Those types, W sock, purple and yellow boy. And so, no. So, let me go and clarify and verify all this stuff because that's kind of important because it's common sense. Yeah. So, go to my website, www.susanvling.com. Go purchase my books where I actually get the royalty checks. From Amazon.com. Go to my journal blog, The Ornery PSA. And so it's an irony regarding that 20-year reunion, huh? Yeah, oh darn. Uh-oh. I was busy anyway. I had stuff to do. There were people I actually care about and stuff like that, and actually wanting to make sure that they're clear as best as I can. Because, I spent however many years in the state of Texas. Oh, wait. So there's technically 12 and a half to 13 years in the state of technically 13 years, the state of Texas, compared to the 1.5-ish years in Illinois. There's the 15 3/4 years in New Jersey, the state I was born and raised in, compared to that almost 1.5 years in Illinois. And then there was, how many years? Like 5 or 6 years in Washington State, compared to that 1.5 year time frame in Illinois. you know, time. That's so important. You know, maybe those cognitive disorders and memory deficits might be needing to be taken in consideration regarding certain types. And so, for those, individuals who think they're so self-important. So, let me get a little Princetonite-ish. So, how many scuba diving certifications did I earn in a 9-month period where I had landed at the bottom of the hot springs, lakes, quarries, and Gulf of Mexico in conjunction to the Atlantic area of the ocean near the forming underwater volcanoes, as well as the Vandenberg, where the keel of the ship is, and in conjunction to the Abyss Trench area. Service alive, survive that. So then, common sense. And then, why would I ever need, want, desire, or prefer to celebrate anything in Illinois about my scuba diving? In regards to Crystal Lake, what would ever be of any connection to that? Sure, maybe the Great Lakes area, but that's not Crystal Lake South at all. That's the Great Lakes area, nowhere near Crystal Lake South for that reference. Hypothetically, common sense. Sure, I earned my 26 scuba diving certifications in the state of Texas, though I learned how to swim and do as I do in the Atlantic area of the ocean in New Jersey. That time frame of like 15 3/4 years from that reference, compared to the 1.5 years in Illinois where I didn't go swimming in Crystal Lake. I actually refused to go swimming in Crystal Lake. Wouldn't even go to what is called the beach in Crystal Lake. Wouldn't even do that. So, just want to point that out there. The bottom of the Gulf of Mexico area. Just saying. Which New Jerseyans could be like, well, why would you bother doing any assistive stuff to the Gulf of Mexico area? Well, there's this area of the Atlantic area of the ocean, and so the Atlantic goes in there, and there's this thing called a current, and there's 2 different areas where that water can go back to the Atlantic area of the ocean. So, might as well take care of that, safety. I'm about life. I know. And so, common sense. Yeah, maybe Noah knows something about that, regarding that current and that ocean stuff. Maybe there's some weather service, whether or not some believe it or not, I don't know. I might not be the smartest crayon in the toolbox. I might know a thing or two, though. Maybe 26. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know, but I have my saying that, some little purple, yellow, W sock white boy had some little titty baby temper tantrum about. What would it be in hypocrisy to cause any needless problems in those references regarding the after effects of my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, as well as my scuba diving stuff, as well as Irving, and all that stuff regarding any needless problem in regards of Washington State, what could hypothetically be taken in consideration? Because then how would that ever be considered as virtuous at all? Would that be considered as sexism from someone who would claim they were woke? Would it be anti-LGBTQP since I'm a pansexual lifestyler? What would be the difference between consent and the correct capacities in comparison from someone who might claim that he, as a white or Caucasian skin tone male, to me as a half Chinese, half mixture of everything else except for African American, biological female, pansexual. Though, I don't really like to bring this up, not because I'm ashamed at all. I have a grandmama and a grandpapa, because my biological father, his great Aunt Helen, who was born and raised in China, is my cousin Jade's biological mother. So my grandmama, my grandpapa, which would be her grandma and her grandpa, which would be the biological parents of her biological father, would be African American. My cousin Jade. And so she's half Chinese, half African American, and we are blood related. So through my biological father, his Aunt Helen would be my great Aunt Helen, which is her biological mother. So literally, the one ethnic background that I personally do not have, though I have Native American, 5 different tribes, all that sort of stuff, my cousin Jade, where I grew up hanging out in Harlem with my grandmama, my grandpapa, and my cousin Jade, and her cousins, which are technically my half or second cousins, through her biological father in Harlem, New York, but also went to the other 5 boroughs and hung out with what would be considered my second or my half cousins in Brooklyn and Harlem and the Bronx and in Queens, including Manhattan, New York City in the 1980s and 1990s. So how woke would that Caucasian male actually be? And or any other aspects in that hypothetical combination thereof to take in consideration. Because what would that translate to? I mean, my grandmama just allowed me, because she trusted me enough to do her hair before church, because she was singing in the choir. And, she didn't have time to get the appointment in time for that one spot of hair that African Americans would know about, that spot. It's it grows in at half an inch. It doesn't really look so whatever, but church. And she thought she could wear a hat, but then, when it's in the choir, how that goes. And so the night before, I was allowed, because anybody who knows how African American hair goes, I was allowed to assist to do the smoothing area of that 3/4 inch on each side of her part. The night before church, where she was going to be in the front row of the church choir. If anybody understands that reference at all, in whatever capacity of. So it's not like Caucasians where just anybody can do your hair. If you didn't know that when it comes to African American hairstyles. Additionally, I was allowed to do Jade's braids a few times. And she was the only grandchild that lived with Grandmama and Grandpapa. So like in that particular reference, I learned how to do the squares and then the little twisted stuff with the little ponytail. I don't know what it's called, but it's like rolled and then you twist the rolls and then you twist the ends and then the little doohickey mabob rubber band with the little, ponytail holder, little circle ball stuff. Yeah, learned how to do that and perfectly where it was considered acceptable before church. Because, there is a thing, there are some who understand about church when it comes to certain areas. My grandmama and my grandpapa just spent time with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his dad and Malcolm X and other groups. They're just a part of the Million Man March. And so, what could that be to church on top of that? I don't know, just saying. Held, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife's daughter in Grandmama and Grandpapa's house. And then, that's just my cousin Jade. What would that be in regards of that little Caucasian, woke, purple and yellow W sock boy and those particular hypotheticals? What possibilities as far as going to a location and or walking around a location and or living areas as to any possibilities to take in consideration as to those hypotheticals of, oh, you were capable to vote. For what reasons? As to who? Because if there was any issues in regards of Illinois and Crystal Lake South or Crystal Lake and surrounding areas, what was it that I explained as far as depending on your whatever to vote for 44 in comparison to policies? Where would that be capable to be proven in the year 2012 and or 2014 and or any other aspect? Or even 2009, 2010, 2011, and a few other years. This is 2022. Month of April, the 22nd. For those clarifications. So what would my physical look be as to where I had actually spent time after being born and raised in New Jersey? Who would be capable to recognize a few things? As far as the 5 boroughs in New York City, possibly Pittsburgh and or Philadelphia, maybe a few areas in regards to Pennsylvania, that might makes sense. Sure, my skin tone is different. I know that. I'm not blind. I just went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. You know, you can't see that necessarily, and yet you have all these signs. You know, whether or not you want to accept it, it's not really for you to accept because you didn't have a head injury. I did. I had the head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. I was in a coma for however long I was in a coma. I had the subarachnoid hemorrhage in the frontal lobe of my brain that took 8.5 years to dissipate fully in reference to the MRIs and CAT scans. I'm the one who deals with headaches. I'm the one who deals with migraines. I'm the one who deals with memory deficits. I'm the one who deals with cognitive disorders. I'm the one who went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math. It's not for you to accept for yourself. It's not even for you to complain about as to what I personally deal with. It's for you to accept and have courtesy, etiquette, and respect as to the fact that those are the facts of my reality. So in regards of that W yellow purple sock boy and college associated with, along with social justice, whatever in those particular references, keep that in mind. You need to remember that. And then on top of that, I was born and raised in New Jersey, grew up going to the 5 boroughs in New York City and areas in New York State, as well as Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania areas. Hadn't seen that particular area since 1998. How selfish would Illinoisans have to be in regards of ever thinking that I should ever go to some sort of reunion for a high school that I only spent less than a full year in, compared to where I was born and raised, and taking care of those aspects. How woke wouldn't you be? So please do leave comments in my official YouTube video and subscribe to my official YouTube channel and go to my website www.susanmeatling.com. Hopefully if you leave comments they'll actually be positive with etiquette and respect. Thank you.